Hey guys, Paul here, Late Night Games, touching base with you guys. It is Friday the 14th of June, and today what we're going to talk about is a little bit of the kerfuffles and the conundrums and the chaos that have been going on this week at E3. Now, as all of you know by now, at least I'd hope most of you know by now, E3 has been going on all week this week. And on the show floor, there have been a lot of great things being seen and a lot of terrible things being seen. There's also tons of other people who have showroom coverage on the floor, and I myself was unable to attend E3 this year, so if you want the first-hand scoop, definitely go check them out. The guys on SourceFed are probably your best bet for this information, so go check them out. YouTube.com/SourceFedNerd is the channel where they did most of their E3 coverage. What I am going to focus on today is my thoughts, my opinions on what I've been seeing going on at E3 this year. The two forerunners that have been taking most of the press coverage in E3 this year are, of course, Sony and Microsoft with the PS4 release and the XboxOne release. Now, a lot of people feel that Sony has completely destroyed Microsoft this time around, and with decent reason. The biggest thing that people have been focusing on is that Microsoft is putting DRM on the new Xbox One console. This DRM makes it impossible to just hand a game over to someone else or trade a game and sell games to each other or to pawn shops without proper protocol. They are allowing authorized retailers to deal with the sales of used games, but there is a lot of hoops you gotta jump through, and this is something that is driving a lot of hate towards Microsoft right now. Now, I have to admit that Sony having absolutely no DRM is definitely going to look very positive in the world of gaming for people who are choosing between Xbox or Sony. The lack of DRM does make things a lot simpler, and it's an easier experience for the gamer itself. And when the experience is easier for the gamer, that's going to cause a more positive experience overall. However, since there are ways to work around the Microsoft DRM, it's not impossible to utilize the system. It's not like the system's been made completely useless. Now, another thing people cry is that they don't want to have to pay for playing online. And Xbox, that's one of the biggest things PlayStation fanboys have had against the Xbox group, is the fact that you do have to pay for an online subscription. However, Sony has now implemented the same thing. The Sony PlayStation Plus is now a required prescription. Yes, it's a prescription. No, it's a subscription, and the subscription is required to play online nowadays. This is something that is possibly going to hurt Sony in the run, because the big thing that people had against Microsoft that Sony wasn't doing was charging for online play. And granted, Microsoft has been charging us for years, and Sony's only doing it just now, but remember what happened a few years ago with Sony and the credit card scandals? I'm not sure if I really want to trust Sony with my credit card information after something along those lines. The other big thing that people have been upset about is the fact that the Kinect is required to use the console. It has to be always connected, and even when the system's not running, the Kinect is still monitoring to watch for the command Xbox turn on or any gestures you give it when the system itself is not running. That and the $100 price difference between Microsoft's console and Sony's console. Xbox being launched at $499 American, while PS4 is being launched at $399 American. The reason I touch on these details at the same time is because, in my opinion, they are closely related. One of the main reasons why the Sony can offer its product at a far cheaper price is the eye, the actual visual sensor for the PS4, is not included with the base model. So when you purchase it for that $400 instead of the $399 instead of $499, you're not getting that piece of hardware. If you want it, you have to pay for it, which they can possibly put the cost anywhere between $60 and $100, who knows? Now, a lot of people say Move technology is a waste of time anyways, so why bother include it in the first place? They're not shoving it down our throats. They're not force-feeding us Move technology. And you're right, and I completely sympathize with you there. However, I do have to say, while I don't personally agree with the Kinect being always on, I can see the logic with including it with every console and not having the option of running the console without Kinect. So hear me out, guys. Current developers develop for what people have, the systems people play, the utilities they have. Look how few Kinect-capable games there are out there. One of the reasons for that is not everyone has a Kinect. If you're a developer and you want to make money, you develop for what everyone has. If you're developing for Xbox, you develop for the Xbox using the controller, because everyone with an Xbox has a controller. If you're developing for PlayStation, you develop for the PlayStation, because everyone has a controller. Most developers aren't focusing on Move technology because not everyone has it, and that would immediately alienate large portions of their demographic. By including the Kinect with every console being purchased with the Xbox One, they give a uniform environment that developers can utilize. So if a developer wants to start playing with Move technology or small features like voice commands or anything along those lines, thank you. The developer is free to do so because everyone has access to the technology. It's not something that a limited number of people have. And by the way, that was Mari. Say hello.
Hi, Internet.
That was Mari in the background. She's over. I just happened to record my vlog while she was here, and she brought me water.
I did.
So yes, it is a shove down your throat situation, but because it is leveling the playing field, I personally feel this is going to cause developers to have the ability to play with the Kinect more, and us seeing new innovative ways of utilizing the technology. At E3, they already announced with The Witcher 3 that's coming out for the Xbox One, you'll be able to vocally queue up spells or switch spells with vocal commands. I mean, vocal spell casting would be awesome. Think of a Dragon Ball Z game where to use different energy attacks, you had to say the energy attack. You didn't just have to hold your hands out and shoot an energy wave, because that energy wave could be Gallic Gun, it could be Kamehameha. You had to actually say the words to go along with it, and it tied voice and motion together. Yes, it's hokey, yes, it's gimmicky, but I think that we can see a lot of great innovation coming from this, and it's something that I'm somewhat looking forward to. Now, the game libraries that have been announced, there are some killer games out there. There's a new mech game called Titan that just looks absolutely badass. We've had Final Fantasy Versus 13, or Final Fantasy 15 as it's been also dubbed. We have Kingdom Hearts, which, funny story there, a lot of people were saying, yeah, PlayStation has exclusive rights to Kingdom Hearts, and then Square Enix comes down and is all like, no guys, actually, Kingdom Hearts is for everyone. That put a lot of egg on people's faces, but I mean, it was a misunderstanding. Because Kingdom Hearts was announced during the Sony press release, people just assumed it was an exclusive. Now, I've been talking a lot about Microsoft and what Microsoft's been doing, and granted, the reason I'm doing mostly talking about Xbox is because that's where a lot of the hate is focused. There's not much being said about PlayStation except it's the lesser of two evils. People don't hate it. People think PlayStation is pandering more towards the consumer than to the corporations. And in a way, they're right. PlayStation is putting a lot more focus on indie games this time around, which is something I do like to see. I personally find indie games very fresh and very innovative, and they do things that the big companies may not be willing to do. But come the end of the day, odds are I'm going to probably own both of these systems eventually. Neither of these systems are horrible, and with some of them having exclusive games that are great, and then the other one having other exclusive games that are great, I'm going to be hard torn as to which one I want first. Odds are I'll probably go with the Xbox only because I do have a larger collection of Xbox games. My Xbox profile's been around longer. I have more friends on Xbox. But now that PlayStation's really stepping up the game with the online community, I may still go with Sony as well. I don't know. Only time can tell. But really, that's my thoughts on what we've been seeing at E3. As to the Apple press conference that came out, the XXAV4, whatever the hell they called their conference, some bizarre acronym, I could care less. I mean, it's not that I don't like Apple. I've used an iPhone. It's a great phone, but they're just releasing the same thing over and over, and they're doing the same thing Android's been doing, but charging more money for it, and because it's more expensive, people are immediately thinking it's a better quality product, when, in my experience, it's not necessarily. It's not a bad product, but it's also not it's not the best on the market, and it's not much better than Android. My opinion is a little biased, though, because I personally use Windows Phone, and the reason I do that is because I love the integration it has with Office. But this isn't a topic about phones. This is focusing on E3. That's my thoughts on what's been going on this week. So that's it for today's quick little vlog here. I'll talk to you guys next time, and take care. We'll see you next week, guys.